Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I mean, literally, it's the name of the album we're listening today. Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you for just stopping by. Even if you skip past this whole intro, this whole introduction, thank you. Thank you for sticking around, listening to the music, just existing. That's what I'm thanking you for doing today, just existing. Today we are going to do a full album listen. I'm enjoying doing full album listens. You know, I mean, it's not a new thing that we've done here on the channel, but I mean, in the past year, maybe 2 years, I've really been enjoying doing a full album listen, a full dive in, and I hope that you guys have as well. So today, without too much further ado, we're going to listen to Bryan Ferry, of course, lead singer of Roxy Music, and we're going to listen to his solo album, Boys and Girls, his sixth studio album. Okay, I didn't know I was going that far ahead. Released in 1985, it is Ferry's first solo album in 7 years, and the first since he had disbanded Roxy Music in 1983. I just saw that bit of history here. Didn't even know that was the whole history, but that is what we're doing today. We are listening to this album at the suggestion, at the recommendation of many of you in the community, such as Josie B. Cat. Which just reminds me of Josie and the Pussycats, which was such a really cool show. I don't even know that came up. That was a cool show. So thank you, Josie. Jeff Stokes, Heather O'Hara, Gerard Ruiz Musi, Sint from Texas, Jeff Stokes, I see your name again, Cope 2, K. Gelmand, AW, Is Bill, Azabax, Black Cat Central Music, Jerome Dukes, the list goes on from there, Dire Nova, Bobby H, and Kevin M. So all of you guys, thank you so much for the recommendation. You may be asking yourself, JP, why didn't you choose to listen to a Roxy Music album instead of, like, you know, a Bryan Ferry solo album? I just wanted to hear Bryan Ferry. I just wanted to hear what he does solo, in his own time, in his own space, in his own creative outlet. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. So thank you guys all for the recommendation. Before we dive into it, press the like button. Get it out the way. Just click it, send it, and I appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. If you'd like, you can support the channel. What I do, sign up on Patreon for as little as $2 a month. It goes a long way here on the channel, as it allows me to devote more time doing things like this, full album listen, spending more time with you. What else? What other plug to get out the way? Joining the Discord if you want to join up in the community. And hey, that's it. Grab a drink of your favorite drink. Grab a glass of your favorite drink. I had this iced coffee sitting in the fridge for a while. I said, let's down it. Lay back, relax, take your feet, put them up, headphones in. Let's go ahead and dive in with the first track here on the album, which is going to be Sensation. Let's go ahead and get it going. This is a fantastic opener for the album, a great beginning to this journey. And if the rest of this album is this quality and in this certain sphere of atmosphere, we're going to be in for a really spectacular time. So a few things just to start off and get us underway. So before even coming into this room to record and of course start the video for you guys, you know, I always sit at my computer and I'm going through different albums that I list that you guys recommend and like, okay, what am I going to do today? What am I going to listen to? And I actually just had this conversation with my wife, and sometimes it takes me a long time to figure out what I'm going to listen to. Because not only, of course, do I want to take your request, but I have to be in the mood to listen to something. So, for example, at this moment, I might not be in the mood for metal. At this moment, I might not be in the mood for punk. But I was like, what do I want to listen to? I'm like, ooh, Roxy Music sounds kind of good. Ooh, a lot of people suggested this album by Bryan Ferry. I'm in the mood for that. So there has to be a mood, right? This is hitting the mood just right. This is hitting exactly the notes that I am in the mood for right now. So, of course, Bryan Ferry from Roxy Music. If you remove him from Roxy Music, what do you have? You have that sultry voice. You have that quiet, distinct warble. That little shake that he adds at the ends of his notes and on his runs. And I love how you get so much of that in here, that deep sensual atmosphere, a lot of density as well. Production wise, not musically or anything necessarily, but production wise, it feels to me like something between the depth of a Peter Gabriel album. You get a little bit of that Talking Heads kind of sound. Like there's just a nice space and a depth to all the instrumentation. So in here, where do we even begin? The opening lines with all the musicians slowly, piece by piece, coming in, beginning that funk. It feels like what's that, the primordial ooze of funk as it develops into that. Of course, that solid bass line, the guitar just chopping it up, and Ferry comes in very nicely. I like how his voice isn't really overpowering in the song. His singing isn't leading, obviously it's leading, but it's not like at the forefront of the stage. He sounds more like another instrument in the mix of the atmosphere in this whole track, which I think is really nice to hear because he has a very romantic, atmospheric voice that really fulfills that specific space in the tone of the song here. The guitar solo in the middle was also equally atmospheric. Yes, it was sustained. Yes, it had those notes, but it didn't go off and be too performative. Everything here worked so well in the atmosphere. The opening with the violin, as well as the ending, I thought was so rich the way that came in. You have some female harmonies in there as well. Sensation. It's just a lovely track to listen to with a lot to bite on and a lot to chew on. Let's kind of dive into some of this a little bit, huh? So on this specific track, I'm looking at the personnel list. So you have Nile Rodgers on the lead guitar, which I'm not overly familiar with him, but I have seen a few live videos of him. He's played on another track. I can't think of what it was now, but I know that he's a very, very accomplished guitarist, and you can hear that directly in here. Andy Newmark on the drums playing here, who, looking at his who he's played with, he plays primarily with Sly and the Family Stone, and has played with George Harrison, John Lennon, Pink Floyd, David Bowie, a lot of people. And you have a plethora of others who are playing in the album here, but just really, really wonderful stuff that they all bring to the table here. Lyrics: never seem to touch temptation. I didn't feel enough motivation. Then I hear you call sensation. Then I need it all. Didn't need it before, but now that you're here, I realize I needed it the whole time. All night long, never been in love, sensation, never needed much complication. Then I hear you call, it's late now, and I need it all. I think that speaks for itself. Once again, you didn't know you needed it, but when they're there, you need it. Which very much makes sense with the title of the song, Sensation. That sensation you didn't know you had, didn't know you could feel, but now you're feeling it, and you are feeling it. It says that sensation was begun 6 to 9 months before the last Roxy tour. Guy Fletcher, a keyboard player who was on the road with Roxy and who had since been snatched up by Dire Straits, played on that track at Phil Manzanera's Gallery Studio in England. What you hear, with all those changes in settings and sound like steel drums, is his audition. That's kind of cool that his audition basically ends up being on the final cut of the album here. So let's go ahead and move on into the next track here, which is going to be Slave to Love. Let's go. Love how the guitar came in there. Slave to Love, to me, feels like the afterglow to the Midnight Rendezvous, we'll say, to the previous song, Sensation. That was the adventure, the climax, that was the event, let's just say. This is the afterglow. This is settling down. This is looking at your partner, and you're like, man. I don't know where I want to go with that, but you know what I mean? Like this is that your heart is coming back down. This is that afterglow feeling. It relaxes a little bit, but there's still that passion. There's still that romance behind it. There's still that feeling. There's still a spark. And once again, the atmosphere is really nice in here. The production again is just, it's a pleasure to dive into production-wise and how deep everything and rich everything sounds in here. The guitar, I really like how the guitar kind of gently whispers, careless whispers throughout the music, like in the first half. And then as it goes on, it begins to come up just a little bit more, almost getting into a little bit of a solo in certain moments, coming up with a little bit more riffage in the ending of the chorus. And then, of course, in the very end, you have the brief uptick in music with the guitar coming up briefly, settling back down, and then the bass coming up briefly and settling back down until its eventual fade out, which I think it's a nice way. Like I said, this kind of feels like that come down, the cool down, you could say. And I think that strikes a nice balance so far in the album listen, while still providing those textures, you know, those really nice moments in there. Tell her I'll be waiting in the usual place with the tired and weary, and there's no escape to need a woman. You've got to know how the strong get weak and the rich get poor. Slave to love, oh slave to love. You're running with me, don't touch the ground. We're the restless hearted, not the chained and bound. I like that. The sky is burning, a sea of flame. Though your world is changing, I will be the same. It's a slave to love. I mean, really, at least so far, the lyrics are pretty straightforward, and yet at the same time, a little sensual, you know, in their approach. He's a slave to love, and he can't escape. And no matter where this other person goes, he's going to be the same. He's going to be waiting, and in some way, he's going to be following. Can you help me? Can you help me? The storm is breaking, or so it seems. We're too young to reason, too grown up to dream. Now spring is turning, your face is mine. I can hear your laughter. I can see your smile. Now, there is a Wikipedia page for this particular track. All right, so I'm looking at the single cover for the album, or like for the single, I should say. Kind of looks like David Sylvian in like the 80s and stuff a little bit. Anyways, Slave to Love is the first single released off of this album. It's one of his most popular hits. It spent 9 weeks in the UK charts, peaking at number 10. It says that the song features Neil Hubbard and Keith Scott on lead guitar. I don't believe I've heard of them. Mr. Hubbard is a British guitarist who's performed with Juicy Lucy, The Grease Band, Bluesology, Joe Cocker, Rocky Music, and the list goes on quite a bit from there. I can't say that I don't remember him, at least, if I have heard him. And then Keith Scott, he's most well known for playing with Bryan Adams and also Cher, Tina Turner, David Bowie, Bryan, the list goes on. And then you also have Guy Fletcher from Dire Straits playing here. Omar Hakim on drums. Tony Levin on the bass. Oh, we got some star power on here. I like how now that I see Levin's name there, I do like how the bass kind of just gently nods. Gently and pleasurably nods, like a stride on the beach under the moonlight. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next track here, which is going to be Don't Stop the Dance. I can only imagine after this come down, perhaps we're going to be on a rise. Let's find out. Get the coffee. That's a good chorus. That's good. You know how you know if a chorus, if a song is catchy, if you know that it's a hit, if in the first time going around listening to it, after the first verse, when you hit that first chorus, in the first half of the chorus, if you're already singing it, if you're already humming the melody, if you don't know the words, I happen to have them here in front of you, but you don't, you're listening to it on the subway, you're listening to it in a store. Don't stop the dance. That is so good. And then in the second line, changing it just a little bit. Don't stop the dance. Like, that is good. That is, it's I think creating a great pop single is so hard. A great catchy single, regardless of genre, is so hard to do. And I think that Bryan Ferry has done an excellent job in just the demonstration of those two lines. And of course, the grooviness of it all. Of course, the strong backbone of the bass, the funky choppiness of the guitar. And, top it all off, saxophone. Yes, he's done it. This is great. I want to know who's playing that sax, though. I mean, that is just a wonderful track. And like I said, immediately catchy. Like, immediately ingrained into your mind. I promise you, whether you like this song or not, after you click off this video, after we're done here, it'll come back. Maybe not in the way I just hummed it, but it will come back. Let's see who's playing saxophone on this track, though, because that was quite nice. I like how it started once again, started organically in the undergrowth of the music, just with little sparks, and then before you know it, it's a beautiful romantic inferno. It says that David Sanborn is playing the saxophone solo here. I don't believe I've ever heard of him. There's a lot of musicians here I've heard of, and a lot that I haven't. I don't. I'm trying to see who he's played with, just to throw those out there. It says he's worked with David Bowie. A lot of Bowie alumni in here. Brecker Brothers. He's played in a lot of jazz. Here's his list: Cat Stevens, Bobby Charles, Players Association, Jaco Pastorius, Bryan Ferry, Eric Clapton. It goes on from there. Either way, lovely saxophone playing, especially in the midst of all that greatness. Mama says truth is all that matters, lying and deceiving is sin. Drifting through a world that's torn and tattered, every thought I have don't mean a thing. Don't stop the dance, no more music. Don't stop the dance. Mama says love is all that matters. Beauty should be deeper than your skin. Living for the moment, lips and lashes. Will I ever find my way again? So he's perhaps finding himself, what's the word? Pursuing more fleshly desires, and he's like, man, maybe he's finding himself at a low spot. And he's thinking back to what his mama said: "Love is skin deep," or that's not what she says. She says beauty should be deeper than your skin, like to look deeper. And so maybe he's like, maybe I should start pursuing something deeper. If you wanted to, you could even maybe not argue, but you could try and connect everything from sensation before. Our protagonist, perhaps Ferry, since he's the one writing the music, feeling something that he's never felt before. Then moving into the next track, that cool down, that reflection. Now, deeper reflection. No, what did Mama say? Mama said, knock you out. Let's go ahead and... this track reached number 26 on the Adult Contemporary chart and 20 on Billboard's album rock playlist. Let's move on into the next track here, which is going to be a Wasteland, which is only a minute long, so I'm just going to let it lead into the next track, which is going to be Windswept. So let's go ahead and let those two ride on together, and ride we shall. I like how we are in a musical desolate wasteland, especially compared to the other tracks. Nice transition. And so with Windswept, we end the first side of the album. From Wasteland to Windswept, what a great transition between the two. Going briefly back to Wasteland, I like how it's just, it really is this kind of barren wasteland of all the instrumentation, all the music that we had before. It's still retaining everything we had, just it's all scattered a lot more. It's given a lot more space. I think that was a really interesting atmosphere to kind of provide a lead and an interlude of sorts, and like I said, a transition into Windswept, which brings everything back in totality to 120%. Let's talk about the romanticism of Windswept, because like its title, this is a track I feel that you get swept up in its romantic winds. You get blown away by its sensual gales. I was trying to think of another synonym for wind. I thought gales. Okay, well. So of course the return of the sax is gorgeous in here, but it's when the guitar playing comes in that I found that this elevated itself. Maybe it's me, but do I detect like a little bit of Latin inspired and influence into some of the notes, into some of the music there? That guitar playing especially, I felt like that kind of Spanish influence. And then even moving on to the soloing section with both the saxophone and the guitar playing, it's just incredibly and thoroughly passionate. Like this, I think, is like the realization of a connection. So bear with me, because I know that I don't think that this is a concept album necessarily, but I would argue once again that there is a connection between everything, because like I said with the other two tracks, there was reflection, there was, this is a new feeling. Is this right? Is this me? And then I think that this is the acceptance phase. This is, and you can look at the lyrics as well, which we will, but this is, yes, I am feeling this way for you. Yes, we are connected. Let's make this a thing, not just a fling, basically. And I think that that's accomplished so well in the music. Now, You may have noticed, and perhaps there's even comments before we get into this section, that I actually haven't talked about Ferry himself a lot. I've talked about everything else, the instrumentation, everything, but I haven't really talked about Ferry. And that's for a really good reason. And it kind of relates to what I said earlier in the reaction, that his voice is truly just kind of melting into everything. And I think that that's a fantastic choice. Like, his suaveness, which we've heard so much with Roxy Music, he has that suave, romantic, like, dapper kind of voice. Like, it is so unique. And he leads Roxy Music in that way, in a specific way. But I feel like his purpose here, and perhaps what he's going for, at least what I'm hearing, is that he's bringing himself down into a lower tone. He's bringing himself down with the instruments and with the music, rather than leading it by a vocal charge. And I think that that just works really well, if that's what he was going for. Like I said, that's what I'm hearing. But I just really enjoy how he mixes in with everything, rather than, I guess, in a typical way, out in front, in the limelight of the stage. Even though, obviously, he's still very much clearly in the lead and in the forerunner here. Let's see. Looking at this track, let's pull up the lyrics here. Oh, baby, do it again and again. I can hear nothing. Windswept is the sand. Oh, baby, show me more. I can see nothing. Windswept is the shore. Heat wave to nightshade. Oh, I'm feeling swept away. From the beginning to the end, he's there. Don't leave me there with a low whisper. Windswept in the air. You say it's nothing but a game to play. Oh, I'm feeling swept away. A feeling only, or a state of mind. Gonna take me high, mama. Mama, take me high. I'm swept away. So yeah, like I said, I really think that this is him accepting that, yes, I am smitten by you. Out of all the words I could have said, smitten is the one that came to me. It says that this is also a single from the album, the third and final single. But unlike the other singles, it did not reach the top 40 in the UK singles chart. The track... Well, there's your answer. The track features Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. Well, that's why the guitar sounds the way it does. There you go. There you go. It says some other information on this track, but none necessarily that we need here. Am I lying? Am I lying to you? I might have some differing information here. Because it says on Wikipedia, on this track, which is track 5, David Gilmour is playing here from Pink Floyd. And then it says on track 7, Mark Knopfler is playing. But then if I click the article for the actual single, it says Mark is playing on this track. I don't know who's playing. I'm gonna go with Mark. I feel like this sounds more like Mark. I don't know. But apparently Gilmour's on this track or somewhere on this album as well. He'll also appear on track 8, I suppose. So okay, we really have some talent here. Is Fripp gonna turn up at some point? I don't know. Anyways, guys, it's time to move on into the next side of the album. Hope that you're still here with me. And if you are, you guys know I like to throw out a little test. I like to see who's actually here. So if you're still here, just put in the comments, before any of your other comments, just put how you're watching this video. Are you watching on your phone, like on the couch? Are you on your laptop? Are you in your office? Are you listening to this while you're driving to work? I just want to know. I actually really love to know how people are watching the channel. I think that's so cool. I know it's weird, but I think it's so cool to like, oh, wow, people are watching this channel like here and here. Like, I don't know. Anyways, put that in the comments. Let's move on, if you don't mind, into the next side of the album. Let's move on into the next song, which is going to be The Chosen One. Let's go ahead and dive in. There's your 80s sound. That bass popping. Okay, guys, I want you to answer me in the comments, please, before I say it. What band did The Chosen One sound like? What lead singer from said band did Bryan Ferry sound like in this track? I'm going to give you one rotation. I'm going to give you one walk around to figure it out. Here you go. One walk around. Are you thinking? Are you typing? I hope you're typing. Here I come from the other side. Got to watch out for the light. Guys, you cannot tell me that this does not sound like Talk Talk and Mark Hollis. You cannot tell me that Bryan Ferry is not influenced in this track in some capacity from Mark Hollis. You cannot tell me. This sounds like something that would be off like Color of Spring because it has the atmosphere that would develop in later Talk Talk albums like Laughing and the other one I'm getting Eden. But it still retains that little funk in it. Still retains that rhythm, that movement, that succulent melody that you would hear in Color of Spring. This sounds like a Color of Spring B take or B side. Are you kidding me? What year did this album come out? 85? When did Color of Spring come out? Hold on. Color of Spring. That came out 86. Oh, came out just earlier. Oh, well, whatever. All right, so but am I the only one hearing that? I can't be alone in that thought. From Ferry's singing to the actual music itself, if you had told me that this was Talk Talk and I didn't know anything about this, I would believe you. I would be chosen to believe. Great track. I couldn't get that comparison out of my head when I first heard it. I'm like, oh, that's who it sounds like. But I guess it works so well because once again, just like I've mentioned before numerous times with Talk Talk and Mark Hollis and his singing, his voice here, Ferry, is just another instrument to be used here, which I love. I love those brief sparks of vocal choir. The chorus was when they come out, and then it fades right back. It's just very bright. It's this vibrant light that pops out and then comes back under the closet. I think that's really, really nice the way those come out so beautifully. The bass is ripping it from the beginning and until the end. Also, once again, the way the guitar is playing so funky, chopping it up. There's some nice detailed playing in there as well, which, once again, this song just screams Talk Talk to me. I can't get that out of my head. If I'm being honest, who's playing on this one? This is track number 6. Sometimes it's not broken down perfectly for me. On this particular track, I do not know who's playing on this one because no one specifically on my end is showing that they're credited. It may be Chester Kamen, who's worked with Duran Duran, Robbie Williams, Roger Waters, David Gilmour, Seal, Massive Attack. Massive Attack, I was just listening to them today. Safe from Harm. All right, so yeah, like once again, just a really wonderful track, but I cannot get that Talk Talk out of my head. And nothing wrong with that at all. If you're going to emulate a band or a band's going to emulate you or there's a sound, hey. Not saying that Bryan Ferry, you know what I mean. Gold and silver walk the main street, the chosen one. Sons and lovers learn to suffer, born in shadow where we first meet. The chosen one, dreams that money cannot offer. Swollen river, I've been thinking, the chosen one. Words of passion and sorrow. Make believing is the real thing, the chosen one. Here today or gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tomorrow. April fever is no stranger, the chosen one. Night and morning in my shadow. World of pleasure and danger, the chosen one. Take my spirit, I must follow. Take my spirit to Eden. So, this track, what could it be about? The chosen one? Is he talking about himself or someone to come? He's talking about walking down the street. Swollen river, I've been thinking, the chosen one. When I see swollen river, you know what it makes me think of? Especially when he's talking about the chosen one. Makes me think of Moses, chosen one, leading people out of Egypt. Swollen river. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too far into it. I don't know about this one. I can't quite say what it's about. And it doesn't really, in my opinion, relate thematically to the other tracks on the other side of the album. So I'm not sure on this one. But it's a nice song. I may not know what it means, but it's a nice song. Let's move on into the next track here, which is Valentine, oh my Valentine. I don't, that's not a song, I just did that. Funky Manson, let's go. Goes kind of hard a little bit. Okay, so with Valentine, excuse the voice crack. With Valentine, we move into this reggae inspired dub influenced bass line. Which, listen, there's a reason reggae bass will always get you on the floor, will always get you down because it moves and moves sensationally. Does it? That is strong, really strong bass playing. Loving the guitar work in here once again. Excuse me. Just to reiterate, because of the different sources, I don't know if it's Gilmore or Knopfler playing guitar here. Whoever's playing though is putting it down. I don't know. I'm leaning toward Gilmore on this one, and I think it was Knopfler on the other one, but I don't know. I'm getting different sources here. So either way, I love the guitar playing. Listening to the drumming, especially in some of the cymbal work and the percussion work, was really nice because a lot of times, and here as well, the percussion itself is pushed usually just a little bit behind the drum production wise, and I really liked listening to the hi-hats in this one because especially during the chorus, there's just a lot of like skittering, like all those 16th notes, but like I know they're probably even faster, 32nd or whatever, which was just fantastic. That's going to be Andy Newmark on the drums playing on this particular track, and it's just really lovely to listen to that little bit of detail in the actual rhythm and the drumming. Because in a song like this, that reggae influenced bass is really going to be what's moving this track along. But I just really like listening to the drums and those lighter cymbal works at that particular point because it just did such a nice job pushing it. The chorus. Love the singing in the chorus. I don't know who's singing on here because there's a lot of people that are, I mean, a lot of people, I'm counting at least 10, that are contributing backing vocals and such. But whoever's singing those harmonies in the chorus is doing a delightful job because they add, like, what's the word? There's a color that they're adding into the music, but there's also this kind of, not darkness, I want to say, but this little bit of mystery into some of the notes and the harmonies that they're singing, which gives it this beautiful but kind of like be wary kind of vibe. And I don't know exactly what it is about, how they're singing it or whatever, but it's giving me that vibe. Actually, you know what? It's giving me the perfect vibe of the album cover here, in which, yes, there's a passion, there's a romance, there's a sensuality, but at the same time, there's perhaps a little bit of a dangerous liaison. There's a risk being taken. And that's what I'm hearing just in the vocals there in the chorus, but absolutely lovely to listen to. The lyrics, not too many on this one. Tell me something I must know, the burning question why. Half a man is twice as much when he's on the line. Happiness hard to get, Valentine in hand. None of them will ever guess, but you understand. How many men in a world of their own? There is no end to the great unknown. Tell me something I must know. I'm outside looking in. The train of mirrors, none so fair. Let the show begin. How many men in a world of their own? There is no end to the great unknown. Well, he says Valentine in hand, so I feel like he's trying to progress this relationship perhaps, but there's still this void. There's still this walking into the unknown and the fear of the unknown, specifically in a relationship. And maybe this is me diving too deeply and putting too much into this, but maybe we are going to continue this train of thought, that story where this is a new burgeoning relationship and trying to precariously and precautiously take those next steps to further it without ruining it. So I don't know. Maybe that's what we're getting at kind of here. Maybe not. maybe not at all. Let's move into the next track here, which is going to be Stone Woman. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. Oh. Bass never gets old. Sliding into home base. Oh, that's kind of an interesting ending. You heard it. It was kind of getting grim a little bit. It emptied into this almost kind of street gutter atmosphere. So obviously when we go back, I'll catch the transition between this track and Boys and Girls, the title track, to finish the album. Stone Woman. I can't begin without mentioning the bass, so let's get that out the way. the bass. It's in your face. It's smashing into home plate. It's going all the way. It's everywhere and it's hitting all the right notes. I don't know exactly who's playing bass on this particular track, but whoever's doing it is doing a bang up job. Just great stuff. Especially every time it gets boom, getting it in that extra boom along with the drums at that point, the floor tom. It just hits very nicely. All right, so about 3 minutes into this track, there was like a little bit of a solo that happened in there. I don't know if that was guitar or keyboard. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. I couldn't quite tell, but if it was guitar, it was a really cool tone that that guitar had. If it was keyboard, I would expect nothing less. But it was just a really cool sound that broke up the section at that particular point. Of course, the drums getting into that hi-hat work and giving a lot of space for that as well. It empties out the musical bowl and then begins to fill it with something else before returning to the usual stew. But wonderful stuff from the drumming on there, and like I said, the bass and that whatever that was, the guitar or keyboard. Now, on this track as well, it's also giving and saying that like it's David Gilmour here. So if that is Gilmour, perhaps that little solo, that sound there about 3 minutes in is Gilmour doing some of his magic. I can't quite say for sure. But once again, the chorus, the movement of everything, those harmonies, stone woman, like this album has a certain sound to it. And I would hope by this point, the album, I think by this point you realize you either like this sound or you don't. Because at least from the little bit I've heard of Roxy music, like this is definitely more straightforward. This particular track is very just cool sounding, just like Blue Note cool sounding. And I think at this point you realize if this is for you or not. If Ferry's solo album, this one is for you or not, because it doesn't have as much edge, let's say, as at least the Roxy music I've heard. But what it lacks in edge, it makes up for in smoothness, and like by tenfold. You can't deny that. And I would even argue one of Ferry's qualities is his smoothness, is his softness, and he brings it all out here. What do you find on the street tonight? Nothing. It's a river of no return. Diamonds, they're your only friend tonight. Break the mirror and bang the drum. Let's be cool about it. Oh, we're cool about it now. Stone woman, and the pain is gone, and the pleasure is yet to come. What do you see on the street tonight? Nothing but another heartbreak hotel. Stranger, you're the only friend tonight. Pick a number and ring the bell. Let's be cool about it. Let's be cool about it. Honesty, stone woman, honesty. What could this be talking about? Walking the streets of forlorn romance, walking the streets of desperation. The pain is gone and the pleasure is yet to come. The pain of what? The pain of life, the pain of a heartbreak, the pain of a failed relationship, but the pleasure is yet to come. The door swings both ways kind of thing. I don't know. Perhaps could be a lot about a lot of things. Let's move into the final track here on the album. Matter of fact, it is the title track of the album. Boys and girls, let's go ahead and dive on in. Before that, let me just really quickly get to the ending of Stone Woman, and we'll let it lead into it so we catch that transition there. It's a place not behind. That is sensational, guys. Listen, if there is a way to close an album, this is a way to close the album. Where do you even start with this? So, obviously coming off of that transition, and that decline, not in quality, but that decline in tone from bright, cheerful, upbeat, funky, and that decline, that coming down into, like I said, that somber tone. That's the word. It's somber, still walking in a line of sensuality, but now it's more like forgotten. Now it's more like a memory, more than an act, a current moment. And I think, once again, the atmosphere is brilliant here. We're kind of harkening back to Wasteland and that kind of open, desolate, barren kind of atmosphere. But with this track, we develop it a bit more. With this track, we do move into a movement. We do settle into a rhythm. And yet, even as we settle into that rhythm, there's this cascade of melancholy. There's this downpour of sadness. There's this now overcast rain that is just coming down on us. We're still moving, but now we're moving with wet socks and shoes. And I think that this is just a fantastic way to end the album on this kind of somber note. Once again, the way that all the instrumentation organically builds up from the very beginning and those first few kind of, what's the word? Disparate? Oh my gosh. Sometimes there's words I think of and I'm like, is that how you say the word? The way it comes together, very piecemeal, creating this barren wasteland, but then eventually settling into that rhythm, I think is incredibly smart. Not necessarily in this song in particular, but I was now thinking about the album and Ferry singing. Some of his singing also reminded me of David Bowie in some ways. That was just a random thought, nothing necessarily to do with this song. But yeah, I just think that this is such a great note to end the album on. Even looking at the lyrics in some ways, I feel like once again, this is a bit of sadness. There's something going wrong, perhaps. I'm a stranger in your town, that's the place I belong. Laid behind the frame and the curtains torn again. A wailing saxophone and you know it's all in my song. All the sin that I can take, but you don't even know my name. You've got a good sense of fun, but you know I've won. All the good has turned to bad. All you know what I think of that. No time to dream, no time to sigh, no time to kill when love walks by. I gotta say, those 4 lines kind of hit the tone of the album. And who's that crying in the street? Death is the friend I've yet to meet. So he's at his lowest point now. I would say, if I'm still running with this concept, this thematic album scheme, the relationship has obviously failed. And when he says, who's that crying in the street? It's him, I think. Death is the only friend I've yet to meet. He's at his lowest point. He's met all the other metaphorical friends, romance, loss of romance, sadness, depression. He's at his lowest point. Perhaps he's already felt everything else, and now he says the only thing left for me at this point is the last friend he's left to meet. And I think the music just so well captures that. This is so good. It says here, I made it the title track because I thought it was the central piece, the meat and bones musically and thematically of the record. The principal song for me is never the single, yet I named the record after it to spotlight in people's minds when they think of the album as a whole cloth. Overall, to me, it has a steamy feeling of the jungle, almost the concrete jungle. It has a sensuality thing like a snake, which I like very much, a vividness. Hard agree. Very, very hard agree. This is a really fantastic way to end the album. I think that this is a very impressive album to listen to. I really like, besides me just, it may not be conceptual or thematic necessarily at all, via Ferry's purpose, but it just has this really nice connection between all the tracks, not only lyrically, but as we heard in some cases with Wasteland and with the title track here, musically and the way that it works in the track listing. This is just, I think, incredible music. You have a lot of great talent on here. It's everything I wanted today. Like I said from the very beginning, when I sit down to do a full album listen, I need to make sure that it's at least in a genre that I'm sure that I'm going to vibe with for the day. I don't always want to listen to this or that, but this is exactly what I wanted to listen to at this moment. If you were to ask me my favorite tracks, I'm not saying this as a cop-out. I'm really not. Like, I would put Don't Stop the Dance probably at a very high point, probably my favorite. But I genuinely enjoyed the whole album. Yeah. Don't Stop the Dance, I guess if you had to pull my arm, is probably my favorite track, but I don't think that there's a weak song on here. Maybe the title track would hit number 2, my second favorite. But everything on here was incredibly great to listen to. I had a great time listening to this album. There's no low points here. Good stuff. So all of you that had recommended and suggested that I listen to this album, hope that you enjoyed the past whatever it's been. I would assume at least an hour, probably a little bit more. I hope that you enjoyed spending that time with me. because I had a great time with this. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, if you haven't already, press the like button. It goes a great and long way in helping the channel get recommended to more people and just help me out here. Of course, if you want to, you can also support the channel and myself for as little as $2 a month over on Patreon. But otherwise, please enjoy the rest of your day. I hope that you enjoyed listening to the album with me, and I will see you all tomorrow, guys. Bye.